box for it? It won't fit in there, will it?
All right, I just want to address a couple things with everybody. I'm going to talk without this. Here.
Then you need to talk into the mic.
All right. I just want to talk about stuff. There were a number of people who showed up last night to the RMC audit, but I just want to give you some highlights about that. There's a specific reason, too, why I want to be in a circle. I like circles, number one, but number two, in a circle, when you're in a circle, we can see each other. I think it's important for us to look at everybody, especially during certain circumstances, right, where we need to know everybody on the team. I think this is one of those where we just sort of need to know everybody on the team. I want to share some positive things that came out of that. First of all, they did an extensive, they were here for 4 full days. They interviewed 70 teachers. They interviewed a lot of students. They were in every single core content classroom except for one. And they visited parents. I mean, this was a full-blown, what is going on at Hinckley High School? And I just want you to know she spoke very complimentary of Hinckley High School. The lady who was the facilitator of this whole thing, she said, first of all, she's an educator. She has, she's been doing audits of high schools for 26 years now. She has been inside over 1,000 schools. So when she's providing feedback, this is somebody who really knows what it is that they're talking about. And the feedback here, I appreciate her feedback about what it is that we might do in moving forward, but I want to give you some of the positive things. I just think it's important for us to realize those things that are going well at Hinckley High School. I wrote 4 down that I really wanted to share with people. Hinckley High School is headed in the right direction and will be the lead high school in Aurora in the next 3 to 5 years if you stay the course that you're on. Yeah, congratulations. Right? I don't know why anybody would want to leave this school. It's one of the greatest schools I've been in. They are headed in the right direction. They've got the supports in place to help each other. We need to support our new staff members better. This is a great school, or a good school, and the staff want to do well. And I just want you to know that when we're looking around at each other and thinking about supports that we have in this school, I just want you to look through the room right here. This is one of the most educated groups. I know there are more degrees standing in here that know about education, that know about students. We have more experience working in this community with people in this room. We have supports right here. The whole professional learning team process is around supporting each other and helping each other make a difference. We need to be very supportive about our new staff and helping them right here. Because this is a great school. This is a school headed in the right direction. And a word of caution to us in thinking about how we transfer and continue on this growth so that Hinckley High School is one of the greatest schools in the city of Aurora. Continue to manage the change process by limiting initiatives each year and simply doing it, even if the agreement is to pilot something for a few years, unite together as one staff working together. If we could do that, I mean, even without that, she was saying that this school is headed in the right direction. Now, we're not perfect. I'm not perfect. There's nobody here that's perfect. We got some complex problems that we're working to figure out. She gave us just a few suggestions. I thought some great suggestions, of which I just want you to know, we're not going to run and implement them this year.
Thank you.
We're not going to try, yeah. We're going to look at this from a long-term perspective. What are we going to do and how are we going to continue to work together as one community, helping each other along this journey and supporting each other to do our best and to help our students be their best. So I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you to each and every one of you. The work that we are about to do right now, there's some great stuff that Tom's going to share with you, and he spent a lot of time. Thank you to Susie and her team for taking care of those tests. Thank you to each and every one of you for the action plans you put together in the last one and how we saw those action plans play out, even though we had a short amount of time to get it done. Right here, though, we have the winning team to do this. So, I'd like to just join hands together for one moment. I'm going to be cheesy. I love to be cheesy. Don't raise your hand. Hey, we need to get a couple people in our circle here. Please come join us. Hey, come on, let's go.
Hey, no problem solving. Good job.
Can we connect the circle?
Rotate. Right. Rotation.
Hey, can we connect? Hey, I know this seems cheesy to some people, right? I like cheesy once in a while, and especially with kids. I love cheesy, but you know what? Cheesy's okay. We are one community right here. We are connected. The energy through our school and what we're trying to accomplish. I couldn't ask for a better group of people that I'm working with. I look forward to what the results are going to be. This is one community together here. One community working together. Thank you for what you do. Thank you. Let's get to
Good, how are you?
All right, everybody, real quick. Atención, por favor. Les voy a decir como mis alumnos. I'm going to tell you like I tell my students. Just kidding. The stack of handouts on your table are in the order that they need to go into the second section of your notebook. So right now, there's a copy for each person. There's 6 total handouts. They're in the order that they need to go into your folder. So why don't you have everybody take a moment and put your papers into your folder.
I think you do it in makeup. really in charge. Sounds like I work. I don't.
All right, team, let's begin. Today our objective is that we leverage teamwork and collaboration. We're going to analyze data. We're going to implement strategies to assist our students as a PLT group to ensure their success. And we're going to create equitable outcomes for all students and ensure their college readiness. I want to review for you the 5 big reasons that data is important for Hinkley. First, we have rigorous goals for our student achievement. We are going to become a performance school this year. We are going to increase our scores in reading, writing, and math. Today, we're going to create another action plan for your success and for the success of your students. We are going to create a clear path to be successful for ACT for the students and help with your understanding of that. Today we're going to identify best teaching strategies and implement them while we still have time. And lastly, we're going to shift our focus from what students were taught to what they know and are able to do. I wanted to take a moment just to look at the 3 standardized tests that we're accountable for this year. Our freshmen are going to be accountable for PARC. Our sophomores are going to be accountable for Aspire. And our juniors are going to be accountable for the ACT. ACT Aspire and ACT are vertically aligned, and PARC is predictive of the scores on the ACT. Our freshmen this year are going to have 7 chances to take interim assessments to prepare them for the summative Aspire test. Our sophomores get 3 chances to take the Aspire interim assessments before they take the summative test. And our juniors are going to have 3 tries to help prepare them for the ACT. This is the first time in my career where I've had an actual test given to me that's similar to the test that we'll be accountable for. The answers that our students are responding, and being able to work with the team to create a plan so that we can all be successful. Right now I'm going to have Brent come forward, and he's going to familiarize you with the ACT and the similarities that it has with the Aspire.
Okay, we're going to go over this whole book. Actually, you have a page right in front of you. You should have how well do you know the ACT. So, will you take about 30 seconds and fill that out as thoroughly as you can? Where do I use? Work with your neighbors if you'd like help.
English is 75. How many are in math? 65. Filling out this
The sheet that you have in front of you is actually supposed to be cut in half, so you don't have to fill it out twice. Just about 10 more seconds, because this is a lot longer than 30. What was the crucial question? What would you get if you took the ACT right now? What would your composite score on? All right, let's go ahead. You'll get a lot of these answers on the slides that are going to be up in front of you, so if you don't know, that's okay. If you weren't able to fill this out in 15 seconds, then you don't know the ACT. And so we're just, what the point here is that we're trying to just show you, the last time we had this meeting, there were a lot of teachers who commented on, well, I'm not familiar with the ACT, I haven't seen the ACT since I took it 25 years ago, or, however long ago that was. And so we want to just make sure that we all know what the ACT looks like before we focus on these. So here's some of the real basics. First of all, what does ACT stand for? That's a trick question, because ACT stands for ACT. The ACT is actually a brand now. It used to stand for something, and I don't even remember. It's just the ACT, just like KFC, just KFC. SAT is also just the SAT. Okay, so it's just a brand. So it just means the ACT. So when you say the ACT test, that's okay. It used to not be okay because you didn't ACT test. Anyway, can you complete the chart below? Why are there 5 numbers on this chart? Because writing is one of the ACT portions, but we don't do that as mandatory Colorado testing. We don't do the writing portion. But let's just talk really quickly about the writing test.
How does the writing benefit a student?
That's a good question. So if a student wants to, they can take the writing. And the benefit is, if a college wants to see a writing score, that's going to benefit them. But that really just depends on where they're applying to college. If the college doesn't care about the writing score, and a lot don't, then they shouldn't have to take the writing test.
A lot of the upper schools are starting to ask for it as a writing sample so that they can place them into their English appropriate course. So if it's a higher form, then they might get into a 123 course versus a 120 course.
Okay. But that should always be indicated on college applications.
Yeah, it'll be on their application.
Stuff like that. So if a student doesn't know whether they're supposed to take the writing because of the college that they're applying to, they should look that up and figure out if the college needs that. Anyway, how many questions on the writing test? Just one. How many sections are reading? Well, just one. And the time allotted is 30 minutes. They're given 30 minutes.
It's actually moved to 40.
Oh, has it?
Yeah.
That's just brand new?
That's brand new.
Okay. No. So this is the first test. So writing is always last. That's number 5. Okay. The first test is English. Okay. The English test is 5 passages. And what the passages are about really doesn't matter, okay? Because they're just supposed to identify grammar and usage rules and how the sentences are correct or incorrect, those sorts of things. And so there's 75 questions, usage and mechanics and rhetorical skills, okay? And you'll see over on the right-hand side that the Aspire is 48 questions, and they call it different things, but it's basically the same. Conventions of standard English and production of writing. So those are the 2 kind of different kinds of questions you get on the Aspire. Both of them are 45 minutes long. The ACT really, it says you do the math, and it's about 35 seconds per question. Okay. Lots of the English questions will take you less than 10 seconds or 5 seconds, and lots of them will take you a minute or more. So they're generally 30 seconds per question. Okay, let's go to the next one. This is actually in the wrong order. Where should reading be on your list?
Third.
Reading should be 3rd. It is always going to be the 3rd test. Okay? Reading gives you 4 passages of about 750 words each. Okay, and the passages are of these 4 kinds, and they're always in this order. Okay, it's one of those things that a student going into the ACT should know. You don't have to do it in this order, but if you know that these are the passages that you have, and you know you're better at fiction than you are at science, then you can do the passage number 1 before you do passage number 4, or vice versa. Okay? And so you have a prose fiction passage, a social science passage, a humanities passage, and a natural science passage. Basically all nonfiction except for the first one. Okay? 40 questions, which means 10 questions on each passage, and they give you 35 minutes. That's much less than 1 minute per passage, and really the reading test is not designed to see how fast or how well you read. It's more of a test that's designed to see how fast you read. Okay? And so there's different strategies that we can teach our students to not necessarily read faster, but to adapt to that fact of this test. Okay? And so instead of trying to teach them to speed read, we teach them to read 3 of the passages instead of 4, and if you do 3 really well, then you don't really have to worry about the other one, because if you even guess on the other one, you're likely to get some of those answers correctly. Okay, so the next, just again on the right-hand side, you can compare it to the Aspire. So this is math. Where does math fall on your list? Second. Okay, this is the second test. And so you have 60 questions, and these are the kinds of questions with the number of questions they will always ask. There will always be 33 algebra questions, there will always be 23 geometry questions, and there will always be 4 trigonometry questions. And the trigonometry questions actually are designed so that you actually don't have to know a lot of trig, or any trig, really. Okay? Not that I would be able to understand them or answer them correctly, but math students might be able to answer them correctly. Okay? 60 minutes to answer all those questions, and the math test is the only test where the order of difficulty matters. I'm sorry, the order is the order of difficulty. So the first 20 are easier problems, the middle 20 are medium problems, and the last 20 are harder problems, give or take. There's always 3 or 4 questions in each section that don't fit the section. Okay, so you might end up with a really easy question as number 57, and you might end up with a really hard question as number 3. Okay? So it throws a couple of those in there. But generally, it's in order of difficulty. Calculators are permitted, and the same as on the Aspire, the calculators are permitted. I guess on the computer program, there's a calculator there for them to use. Is that what that means? Yes. Calculator within the program. Okay, and then finally is science. Again, if you're not familiar with this, the science test doesn't actually require you to know much science. Okay? It's much more of a logic and reasoning and reading test than a science test. Okay? But there are 7 passages. 3 of them are called data or charts and graphs passages, meaning you're given some charts and graphs and you have to read them and then interpret them. There are 3 passages that are called experiment passages, and that is just it gives you information about an experiment, and then a couple of paragraphs about how an experiment might go if you do it this way, or how it might go if you do it this way, or the results of the experiment and so forth. And there's one that's called the argument passage, often called the fighting scientists passage, because then you get opinions from different viewpoints of scientists, sometimes 2, sometimes 3. And then the questions are just designed for you to read those passages and interpret what the scientists are saying. 40 questions in 35 minutes. So again, that's the same sort of thing where it's not necessarily testing your ability to know science. It's almost testing your ability to read and interpret things quickly. Okay? And then you can see that the Aspire test has the same sorts of questions with interpretation of data, scientific investigation, and evaluation of models. I'm not sure if any of those actually fits the argument passage as well as the ACT. Okay. That's the, so what have we missed? Have we missed anything on your chart?
Yeah, score range.
Score range. What's the score range for each test? 1 to 36, and that's for each test. So it's a little, it's tricky just as far as the chart goes. But every one of the scores gets 1 through 36. The writing test does not count on a composite score. It is a whole separate score. If you take the writing test, you get 2 different scores. The composite for the 4, and then the writing test is very separate. And then what would your score be if you took the ACT? Anybody want to admit it? 36, is that what you're saying? Of course. Okay. Yes, sir. I'm not sure.
No?
SAT
My question is, are ACT Aspire,
No. Aspire is from Pearson, and ACT is from somewhere else. I don't know if it's the same, it's a zero place. A subsidiary of, Pearson is a subsidiary of ACT. Okay. Anyway, so what we're hearing here is the companies that do Aspire and ACT are subsidiaries of the same company, so they come from the same place. Okay. Anything else? Any other questions you'd like to know? Anything else about the ACT? This is real basic stuff. I mean, the whole point here is that now that we know this, how do we teach the students to do better on this test that's testing them on different skills and different times? Is there anything else that you guys need to know? Any questions that come up?
What do you
Yes.
consider?
Hang on, sorry.
Well, I know, just to clarify with the scores, so you have your raw score, which is your total points, correct? And they convert that to your scale score, that's how you get the range from 1 through 36, and the composite score is just the average of all 4 of your tests.
Yes, the composite score is the average out of 36 of all 4 of the tests. Even though the tests are different, have different numbers of questions, that those raw scores get turned into a scale score is what they call it, and then the scale scores are averaged, and that's your composite score. So that's the total, whatever you get on the ACT is averaged out of those 4. Okay, Kathy, was your
What do they recommend as some of the best prep courses, classes that a parent can buy? And how many times should a student take the test max?
I'm not sure about recommendations for buying courses and so forth. I went through a training, Craig Thompson and I went to a training a month or 2 ago. That was through the Princeton Review. And so the school district is working with the Princeton Review on getting lots of material for ACT prep. I don't know the difference between one course and another course, but if you have the ability and your child or student can do that, it would be recommended to do that. One of the things that Craig Thompson and I are going to be doing, if you didn't know this, is that we're going to be focusing on a specific ACT preparation course starting in the spring. So, yeah.
One other thing, if a student gets free or reduced lunch, juniors and seniors can get a fee waiver to take the ACT for free. So if you have students that want to take it and they may not have the money, but they get free or reduced lunch, they can take it for free.
Right, and so what she's saying is that students can get waivers for the cost if students are going to take it again. And Kathy's other question was, how many times should students take it? And the answer to that is, until you get the score you want.
Exactly.
Okay? The answer to that is that you should know what score you need in order to get into the college that you want. And that's how many times you should take that test, or how many times a student should work to get the score. Okay? Anyway, there's really no answer to what is a good ACT score. A good ACT score is the score to get you into college. Okay, into that college. Okay? Is there anything else? All right, are you? Okay, thank you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Brent. All right. Just want to emphasize again that the ACT Aspire is vertically aligned to the ACT. It's also aligned to the Common Core state standards, the college readiness benchmarks, and it is the test that our sophomores are going to be held accountable for this year. Our ultimate goal is the ACT, and this is just our data results from last year. We looked at these last time. I want to emphasize to you again that this year's 7th graders, the class of 2021, they will be here in a year and a half, have to have an ACT score of 18 in English and a 19 in math in order to graduate. Our vision for our school is that we graduate every student with the choice to attend college without remediation. Because the ACT Aspire is aligned to the ACT, your data analysis today and your action planning is going to make a difference for our students. We need your continued commitment to this process, and together we are going to become a performance school, and our students are going to meet the marks that they need to be successful on the ACT. I want to invite Amy to come up. She's going to talk about some strategies we're going to use for ACT for English.
guys. If you could please turn to the blue pages. One of my goals as a teacher partner this year is to improve our staff's knowledge about writing, give us some strategies, and so I put this together because I think it's important for you guys to have some immediately applicable things that you can take into your classroom. Even if you're in this Data Dig and you're not sure what's going on, we still have this that I wanted to, some really concrete strategies that you can use. So the first page is called Question Stems. The purpose of this is sentence starters for you, the teacher. So usually when we say sentence starters or sentence frames, it's for the students to use. This is actually for you to use as you begin your questioning. So for example, if you look at that first one, it says, how do you know you're looking at a detailed question? So you're in your classroom, you're asking the students to find a detail in a text. Instead of what you would not normally say, because we all have that script in our head, the go-to phrases that we're used to using, that we're comfortable with. Can you find that kind of thing? It would be helpful to your students if instead of can you find, you would say, as stated in the passage, what does photosynthesis do for plants? The writer states that the causes of World War II are what? So that students are used to hearing that language, and as they become more used to hearing that language, they're used to seeing it, and they know what they're supposed to be doing, okay? So I've given you detail questions, vocabulary and context, inference questions, and then on the back, function questions. The phrase blank serves to do what for the writer. I've even given you some writer's view sentence starters for you. The purpose of these might be more narrow. I'm not sure. I wasn't able to brainstorm with some other contents on how you would use this in other contents, but it's highly applicable to social studies and English. Okay? Any questions on question stems, why you would use it or how you would use it? Okay, so since you brought your lesson plans, will you turn and talk? Which of these question stems do you think you guys could try on as a PLT next week? Can I get a couple of PLTs to share what they might want to try on next week? Lee, what did your PLT talk about?
Talking about the scientist instead of the author suggests, looking at what the specific scientist is coming from.
So Lee said we would say the scientist instead of the author, and I think that that's a great alteration to the question stem to make it feel really content specific, and that's fine. The purpose is the formality of the language, not necessarily word for word. If you'll turn the page, if you turn the page to the mortars. Those who've gone through STEM training, you know, mortar is those words that kind of glue all your content together. I wanted to provide you guys with some lists of words that are high value for your students to practice using as they do those different types of writing. So if you look at cause and effect there at the top, if you provide those students with a list of those words, a really good strategy is to say, these are words that we want you to try on. In this next piece of writing, I want to see 3 of them used correctly. I had some time to plan with Amy a little while ago, Amy Farmer, PE, on doing this kind of thing, and she saw some great results from her students trying on new words. Okay? So as a result, consequently, and it follows that, you would ask your students to use those in a piece of writing. Okay? There's cause and effect, contrast, sequence, connections, and if you turn to the back, the wrong answer choices are commonly extreme. This is borrowed from Kaplan's ACT book, so that's why that language is like that. I wanted you to see words that students are supposed to avoid. So when they see absolutely or always or in every case, those are big red flags for them. So it might be nice for you to have them as big red flags in something that you present to them. Are they able to do that critical thinking of, okay, I know that this is a key for me, I need to avoid this, something's wrong here. Okay? And then the last couple of pages, ACT grammar. These are the top 10 things that are tested on ACT. The very, very, very top one, for some reason, is number 4. It's all about our good friend the comma. So the more you can do with your students to notice commas, to edit their student writing for commas, to do peer editing for commas, any little thing helps with that one. Okay, but I wanted you to have a list. And one thing I like about this ACT grammar is it's not just a list of rules, but it actually gives you examples of each rule. So if you're not sure for yourself, am I applying this correctly or do I understand this myself? I personally struggle with identifying comma slices. They don't jump out at me the way they should. So they give you examples of each skill here. Okay? Any questions on the mortar or the ACT grammar rules? Okay, again, this is designed to be a tool that you can apply in your classroom right away with some words that the students will need to know and be familiar with to be successful. Thank you very much.
All right. We are running a little tight on time, but originally there was going to be a game to match the ACT Aspire questions with those grammar rules. Of the 18 questions that were on the Conventions of Standard English for the ACT Aspire, 13 of the questions were linked to those top 10 grammar rules. So the biggest one that showed up, just like Amy said, was the comma. So anything you guys can do to support commas in your PLTs with our Writing Across the Curriculum initiative will help our students both for their sophomore standardized test, the Aspire, and for the ACT. All right, we are at the moment you guys have all been waiting for. We're going to transition to our data results. Before we begin, these are the subject skill areas that we're going to focus on for each PLT. All PLTs are going to focus on reading and progress with text complexity. For English, we're going to focus on production of writing and conventions of standard English. That's for all the English PLTs and the elective PLTs. Science is going to focus on interpretation of data, scientific investigation, and evaluation of models based on their data. And math is going to be focusing on algebra and geometry. All right. This is our first set of interim data results from test 1 and test 2. So let's see if this works here. So on the first test for English, Our students answered 42% of the questions correct. They had 15 out of 36 questions. For conventions of standard English, they answered 44% of those questions correct. And for production of writing, they answered 37% of the questions correct.
Hang on just a minute. Where, do we have that?
Yes, it is in your next packet. Will be, okay. For the second interim assessment, they scored 47%. They answered 47% of the questions correctly. That is a 5% overall increase for English. We saw a 12% increase in production of writing. I want to attribute this to a hard work from all of our elective teams and our 9th grade English teams and our writing across the curriculum. That was a great job. We're all doing this together. I would like to give everybody a round of applause because we are making this happen right now. 10th and 11th grade English, we saw a 3% overall increase. And we saw a 12%, their subject skill focus area was production of writing, and that's what we focused on. And we saw a 12% increase. Let's give the 10th and 11th grade teachers a round of applause as well. Science, 9th grade, hit a home run. We had a 5% overall increase. Their subject area for the subject skills that they focused on was interpretation of data. They had the largest increase of any PLT with 18%. And a 3% increase in scientific investigation. Let's give them a round of applause. Great job, science team. 10th and 11th grade science. You guys had an overall increase of 5%. You increased scientific investigation by 7% and interpretation of data by 11%. That was your focus area, interpretation of data. Great job. Let's give them a round of applause. Math. We had an overall decrease of 3%, which was one question. They answered 8 questions correctly instead of 9. However, this is a very important part. Our focus for math was algebra and functions. And we saw an overall increase of 7% on the area that they focused on for algebra. It went from their second to last to their top subject skill area. So we had a 7% increase in algebra and a 1% increase in functions. And we had a 21% decrease in geometry. We do not focus on geometry, but that's why we're focusing on for this next round of interim assessments. So I totally expect this number to go up. We're going to action plan, and just like this number went up, we're going to make both numbers go up. Let's give 9th grade math teams a round of applause. 10th and 11th grade math, the result was almost identical. We had a 3% decrease. The subject skills that they focused on in their action plans, we had an 8% increase. It went from 29%, their third lowest, to their top area. We had a 2% increase in functions, their other focus skill area, and we had the same decline in geometry. It's because we're not covering geometry. But this test shows us the gaps that we have, so we can fill the gaps for the students. We know that ACT is going to test geometry, and we're going to make sure that our students are ready. Let's give 10th and 11th grade math a round of applause. Reading. Reading, we had no overall change for 9th grade. The ACT considers the test proprietary, so I shared all the other tests with you, but you guys do not have access to the reading test. And so we had no overall change from the way we planned last time, so we're going to change it up a little bit, and we're going to plan a little bit different. They also measure progress with text complexity. And I didn't show you this last time, but I want to show you this time. We decreased by 3% in this area for 9th grade. And I want everyone just to take a second and read this definition so that everybody knows what they're talking about when they talk about progress with text complexity. All right, I would like you to turn and talk with an elbow partner. What does progress with text complexity mean to you? And what does it mean for your class? Turn and talk to an elbow partner. All right. Would anybody like to share with the group what they think the progress with text complexity means for us at Hinkley High School?
The thing that stood out to me is the phrase comprehend, central meaning, and purpose. So instead of central meaning, I'm converting that to main idea because we talk to our kids about that a lot. So everything we read, can we identify the main idea? Every quarter, any content, I think, could do that.
Would anybody else like to share? The big key word for reading with the ACT Aspire is key ideas and details. And that's what we asked everyone to focus on last time. Based on research from the Gates Foundation, higher order thinking skills and summary have the biggest impact on schools like ours for our students. Let me just tell you what I've observed as a new TOSA to your building as I go in and observe classrooms. Many times we have students reading text in a lot of different forms. We might have students reading out loud. We use popcorn. Sometimes the teacher reads aloud or the students read quietly. But then what usually happens when I observe classes, not all classes, is that the teacher begins to explain the text. And the teacher begins to lecture on the text. So what we really need to move towards is higher order thinking, questioning based on the text with progress for text complexity. What we need you guys to do is less teacher talk and more student talk using higher order thinking skills. If we can do that, we are going to move from good to great. We are going to be awesome at reading. The two tools that you can use, higher order thinking skills and summary. So the last document in your folder, please don't turn there yet. I'm going to give you some instructions. Right now, you're going to craft 2 higher order thinking questions that you could ask students instead of telling them or lecturing them about a text. So think about the next thing you're going to be reading in your classes as a PLT. What are 2 questions that you could ask students with higher order thinking skills instead of lecturing them about the text? Right now, turn to your last section. It's the action plan. And let's come up with 2 questions, and I am going to ask one PLT group to share. It's the one after the example. It has a large plan. It looks like this.
What if you taped here? That's all I did. Oh, great. Gave them a question and the second text they're watching.
How's 1 more minute? All right, guys, let's start. We have a volunteer to share with the group. Our rock star 9th grade science team over here. 11th grade.
I didn't volunteer. Okay. We're doing the cycles in nature, and so we came up with a question: predict the global implications of an increasing human population. Yeah!
Thank you, science. Anybody else like to share?
So actually, this is something Clint and I are working on tomorrow. So we're in the Constitution, and we're talking about the lawmaking process and congressional decisions. So I have no catcher that is, most of these are all 3-level questions. And so we're going to watch a video, they're going to pair share, and they're going to talk as a class about lawmaking, another video about congressional how congressional decisions are made, and then I asked them, how is the lawmaking process related to congressional decisions, and what conclusions can you draw from watching the 2 videos today?
Thank you.
So English 11 is doing feminist lens and Marxist lens, which is about power structures, and we're reading The Eyes Are Watching God. Differentiate between the rules for women and men on the porch in Their Eyes Are Watching God, and cite evidence that Jamie has less power than each of her husbands.
Thank you. That's awesome, guys. All right, here are the reading results for our 10th and 11th grade. We had an overall decrease of 7%. And we had an overall decrease of 6% for text complexity. If you guys focus on these higher order thinking skills with reading passages, we are going to change this around. This is what we have to do to become a performance school this year. We're so close, together we're going to do this. We're going to change this ship. We're going to go somewhere that we have never been before as a school. We are going to be a performance school this year. All right, we're going to transition into our goals. And so we need to just identify with your PLT groups who's going to be your facilitator, who's going to be your recorder, and who's going to be your timekeeper. Take 20 seconds right now and just decide who's going to have those roles at your table.
That's not it for I can keep time. Oh, somebody's keeping time?
All right, we're going to turn your folder to your goals worksheet. Here's what it looks like. Here's what it looks like. We have 7 minutes to complete your goals worksheet with your PLT. We're going to set our goals for Interim 3. You have your data at the very top. And then you have your question analysis, some analysis for your goals. So right now you have 7 minutes to complete this document with your PLT.
Holding candy for you. Now she's gonna go ask him.
We're supposed to be rating our tomorrow.
Writing prompts. Focus on more, right?
Last teacher talked about change
Okay, what do you want me to write?
Yeah.
2 more minutes. 2 more minutes for this worksheet.
Well, you'd have to talk to my wife. You are writing papers, right? That's the least most common thing that we're doing. Am I right?
Yeah. I'm sorry, my head is no, I think it's the weather.
All right, guys, we have to move on to the next part. If you haven't finished up yet, we're going to probably go over our time, so you'll have time in your PLT groups to work on this a little bit. We are going to move into the last 2 pieces, which are the most important part of our plan today. So, turn in your folder to your Interim 2 question analysis. It'll have either science, English, or math at the top. We had several people come to us from the different PLTs and ask for production of writing questions for each PLT, since we're writing across the curriculum is our focus. So your first 3 questions for every PLT are 2 for production of writing and 1 for convention of standard English that we're going to focus on. We are going to work on these in 10-minute intervals. As a PLT, you're going to read the question silently, begin answering the data analysis questions on your own, and after everyone is done reading the questions, your facilitator is going to start facilitation for these questions. I'll come by and check it. It might just be a typo. It should be your this thing. Okay. Yeah. It's definitely the right test. It's just probably a typo. Okay? Yeah, all the interims are the same. The tests are the same. This is test 2. You have the same one. So let me just go over real quick before we begin. At the top, you have the standards. Then you have the passage of text. Below that, in the black bold, here you have the question. Here are the question responses that the students were able to choose from. This right here would have been the correct answer, and the percentage of students that chose the correct answer. And the other ones here are the incorrect answers and the students that chose them. Yesterday when we talked to RMC, Diagnostic, when they came in, one of the things that they said that we need to focus on specifically when we do data analysis is this question number 2. Did the students choose the same wrong answer? Why or why not? What are the learning gaps that our students have? Right now we're going to do these first 3 questions in 10 minutes. And then we're going to work through the rest. That will be with your specific subject area in 3s. So we're going to take 40 minutes right now to work through the question analysis for all the different groups. You have 10 minutes. The first 3 questions are writing. Okay, you may begin. You have 10 minutes.
You don't have that? We don't have that?
We went through that whole thing, we don't have.
I will pull you guys.
Where the kids at?
That's okay. Can we just share it?
Yeah, absolutely. We gave everybody the 50 seats and messed up the rotation.
Thank you.
Oh, that's mine. I'm sorry. No, enter the turn and then it's the one less challenge.
Yeah, we're answering
What are we looking
That's a key indicator, which if you leave it alone, that's your safest indicator. Yeah. If you don't know where to move it, does that make
That's a skill for you. You just read it all together.
Well, are you kidding me? I did the first one.
But I can understand thinking the class advisor as the right now.
Yes, but it's
We're sequencing sometimes. We teach them the process. Yeah. Like think how hard it is.
Repetition, like
Think how hard it is to do the game like turn the bathroom over there. It's no. Correct. Are they gonna take one? Pretty good at it. And to hook up things now. But I know where they had it. Straight up. Really makes everything better, right? Warm up activity.
Like you want your body to, you don't ever like this, obviously.
You would never like the only thing we could
Right
do
before we leave, but we're not leaving for a while.
is write the sequences out. More down dynamic. Lifting you have to understand flow. No, you promise.
All right, guys, it is time to transition into your next 3 questions. It is time to transition into your next 3 questions. Science and math, they will be in your content area. Everyone else will be working on the same types of questions, the English questions.
I can try it. I've been really, yeah. Karen just put me this first. She's never said your name.
But in your class, we all are. Even like the way that I presented yesterday. Yeah, she said, I have to read it and break it. She's like, that's the way that I would never say I want to use her. It's okay, we're just
But the most percent of it, right? And is it in this? Oh, and it was 10.
It just doesn't make sense to me.
But that's for you too.
Wait, what is the
Remember 2 years ago when we assigned those different types of assignments because the data tells you this
How when you put 10 hours in math, English reports go
I talked to you about it. Yeah, I knew you were. Oh no, that's what it was. Maybe they can go back and pursue
No, we were holding the wrist.
So it's something, it's not something else. It's not like you click a box and it shows from this game. It's like it shows.
They were laughing. My face was talking about IDs, but like.
So what happened? I'm not sure I'm on policy.
I told you that.
All right, it is time to transition to the next 3 questions. It is time to transition to the next 3 questions.
Why don't you go finish coloring your F? That would be fantastic. You would see this before that.
It's almost done.
Oh, I don't know that's way back when she was in her writing, the Cranberry Tree. Back when she was had become a symbol. I'm Nana. I am Nana. Part of us were a sister.
Then it's like that's Tree, that's the name of the school.
No, Cherry Tree.
Oh, it's from the front.
It's the same thing. Like, we don't have enough to do this. I don't think. These tend to go quick. I'm not going to process. Thank you. So it's like they translate up way back.
What did they answer the most? From back when she was a kid.
And that sounds better from way back in the day. So if they're looking at way back and they're translating it to the, like,
So you know what?
they're going
This
to
is
try
the
and
most
not read it.
sophisticated way of saying that. Right, from the kid to the youth. Right. But what I'm saying is that's the most sophisticated way of saying the same thing, right? From the youth and we're supposed to get back to church.
Automatically, they're like, because it's no the last time they did
One thing I remember.
My gym team. Start that.
No, we're not.
No, it's for you.
Then I go and
Okay, yeah.
Is that all? What's your number? I don't know if it's like that. We're at State City. That's where Liz used to go to State City. Is it the one with Karen? Karen had a different name for that. One time we pulled up with Jacob, loves her, out there for the front, like, I mean, it was the first time she saw him, he was like 14. He was in high school. How is it now? She was like, I would just relax. And that was it. What do you know, Grant? So you know him a long time.
We don't know that for sure, but the way to find out.
What is she called?
She's
everything on the but they sent out a direction sheet and they got scheduled to questions. I went there and showed them.
2 more minutes. All right, we are going to have to stop at this point because we're running short on time. If you would like me to share the entire test with you, just shoot me an email. You guys can finish analyzing these questions if you want to continue in your PLT groups. But we really need to move on to the action planning, which is the most important part because it's what we are going to do to fill the gaps that our students have and ensure their success on the next test. Here are a few guidelines for your action plans. You should have them in hand as you lesson plan. You should be indicating in your lesson plans where the action plan strategies are being implemented. This third one's really important. We want to increase the level of rigor in your lessons to match the test. If we don't match the test with the level of rigor, the students won't be successful on the test. I included in your packet 9th grade science action plan from last time because they had the best results out of everybody. So I actually had to type this up for you guys. You can use this as an exemplar as you write your action plan. Here's where they implemented it in their calendars. And then the last piece of that handout from the exemplar, they actually implemented it, the interpretation of data, into their common formative assessments. And so they were matching the level of rigor also in their assessments. I truly believe that's why they were so successful. They were very methodological about it. Methodical, thank you. Okay, so here's the example. Use this as you write your action plan. So right now you're going to use your question analysis results to complete your action plan as a PLT. If you get done early, you're going to review your action plan and begin to implement it into your lesson plans. That's one of the reasons why we brought our lesson plans today. You need to turn in 1 copy to your PLT administrator. The key factors is that we have correct analysis from the item analysis that we just did. We need to implement strategies as a PLT group. And we have 8 weeks this time, so we have twice as much time to make a difference in our next test. We were supposed to have 30 minutes for this. We have about 20 minutes. You may want to continue to work on your action plans in your PLTs after today. Speak with your PLT administrator liaison. The better our action plans are, the better our results are going to be on the next exam. I want to give you the rest of the time for yourself, and you'll turn those into your administrator before you leave.
Visual
That's so much.
Look, there's gum on this bag.
Don't sit on it.
Thank you.